Welcome to Freshwaves. I'm your host, Bren Masson. Today, we have a great show lined up for you. We're going to be speaking with Lorraine Thornhill about hypnosis, meditation, past life regression, how these things can help us in this crazy world that we're living in right now. So let's get on with the show. Hi, Lorraine. Nice to have you on Freshwaves.
Oh, well, thank you. It's great to be here.
Well, we've been having a tough time with COVID, and we do the phone interviews now, but chatting with you just before we went on the air, it sounds great, the things that you're doing. Last time we spoke was probably 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we even tried to do a little bit of hypnosis on the air. That probably won't be possible over the phone, but is it possible over the phone? I mean, how are people getting their hypnotic therapy these days if you can't get together in person?
Well, originally, I had meetings, one-on-one, face-to-face meetings, and I realized when COVID hit, I transitioned to Zoom meetings because it really isn't about the actual space that you're in, the physical space. It's more the head space that you're in. So if you're ready to do hypnosis with me, whether it's in person or over Zoom, either way can be accommodated because it's a one-on-one interaction. And when you're in that mindset to experience hypnosis and you follow the guidance of a qualified hypnotist or an experienced hypnotist, then it's easy to go into a light trance or deep trance state over Zoom.
Okay, so that's a good point you made, a licensed or a knowledgeable hypnotist. What's your background in that?
I went to the University of Toronto, studied with Dr. Mike Mandel, and got my master's with him, and then I furthered it with National Guild of Hypnotists, which is an international certification, and I'm currently doing some more courses with the International Association of Hypnotists, which is out of, the U.S., but it has members in countries all over the world. In fact, both organizations have members in countries all over the world. I've been doing hypnosis. I started my first course in 2007 and I was certified with Dr. Mike in 2011. And I'm also certified with a master's Neuro-Linguistic Programming, and I do coach using the techniques with NLP techniques and hypnosis techniques. And we cover a lot of ground in one coaching session.
Wow. So neuro-linguistic pathways, that's kind of generally that's making new paths for your brain to use?
Yeah, neuro-linguistic programming is how the brain and the body talk with each other, and how our subconscious or unconscious, either way it can be said, unconscious or subconscious, have beliefs based on our values, have behaviors based on our values and belief systems. And it's where our behaviors come from, our unconscious programming. And when we become aware of that programming and bring it to the conscious level, then we can start changing behaviors. And even on the unconscious level in hypnosis, we can change a lot of behaviors within the scope of working with the unconscious.
So give us an example of how that would work.
Well, I work with a lot of sports people, athletes, and I also do work with weight loss and stress release, anxiety release, pain management, and so forth. There's a lot of benefits that come from hypnosis, but with weight management, a lot of it is our belief system about ourselves. And when we strengthen our belief systems, our behaviors change. So on an unconscious level, maybe the body's saying, on our conscious level, we might say we can't lose weight, or I don't like who I am, or, our self-image gets targeted.
Mm-hmm.
On unconscious level, the unconscious doesn't know but the difference between reality and not real, real and not real. And so when we create a belief system, the unconscious says, okay, let's just behave that way. With weight management, for example, if there's a belief that you can't lose weight, then I can guarantee that you won't lose weight. But if you change the belief system to point out that maybe, or the pattern in the unconscious mind to believe that it can lose weight, or it doesn't need to crave foods, or our anxiety levels or our stress levels increase the cortisol levels in our system, therefore it's more difficult to lose weight, then the body follows suit. But if you change the programming on an unconscious level to say, I can lose weight, I am healthy, I can eat properly, and my stress levels are going to stay or are low, then the body responds to that. So the unconscious mind is very factual. There's no gray area. It either is on or off, yes or no, black or white, purple or green, but there's no in-between colors. Like there's no grays and there's no a combination of browns from purple and greens and that. It's either or. So whatever that means in behaviors, it creates a belief system. And so if you believe one thing that is not true of yourself, then the behavior mirrors that pattern. So, it applies to many things like sports. When I work with athletes, they need to visualize a perfect round of golf or a perfect swing or even a macro movement like stopping at the top of your swing and then following through. And when you can visualize that enough times, then that swing becomes that behavior. But what hypnosis does is it takes the physical effort away from repeating a perfect pattern and puts it into the unconscious mind as a perfect pattern in one session or two sessions. And then the behavior changes because the thought is there and the pattern is there. And then the result, it becomes more successful.
So hypnosis could be really helpful for people with addictions.
Yeah, it is quite good for smoking cessation. Yes, you're absolutely right. Addictions are a programmed behavior, and then there's hormones and, medical concerns involved. But smoking cessation is wonderful to be able to quit smoking after the first session. Now, I've been very successful with people who wish to quit smoking. After 1-2 sessions. And the second session is basically just reaffirmations. But the first session is when they actually quit. In fact, when they walk through my door, and they're ready to quit, that's the time that they actually quit because they have committed to me to start the process then and there. And usually, and that is a very successful outcome.
Wow. Well, that's really fascinating. So how long does one of these sessions take?
A full session, probably about 90 minutes. And if you come back for subsequent sessions, and I'm not just talking about weight management is multiple sessions over a period of time, but smoking cessation could be one session. It might be 2 spread apart. And that ranges from anywhere from 60 minutes to 90 minutes.
Okay. All right. So I know people have questions about hypnosis. When I think of hypnosis, I tend to think of, some man standing on a stage. And I have seen Mike Mandel in the past. And, people are barking like dogs or chirping like birds. It's just kind of hokey in a lot of ways. So, how does this therapeutic hypnosis differ?
Well, I have to point out that a professional hypnotist or a consultant hypnotist doesn't do anything within the scope of medical within the medical practice. So hypnotists are not doctors unless there's a licensed doctor that is a hypnotist, of course. So we generally help everyday people with everyday problems. And with me, that work transfers to athletes and people who are wanting to lose weight, quit smoking, and stress release. With stage show, now Mike Mandel started out doing stage shows, but he's also got his doctorate in I believe it's neuro-linguistic or neuroscience. I'm not 100% sure. I have to
Yeah, that's fine.
with him on that. But he studied. He used to be a therapist, hypnotherapist for years, and he's also done forensic science with hypnosis. But the difference between stage hypnosis and hypnosis that helps people overcome fears, phobias, etc., is stage hypnosis is basically for fun. There's no therapeutic value in that except to engage the audiences. But that being said, a lot of stage hypnosis are very, very good consultant hypnotists, meaning that they have clients that come to them to help them through certain things. So basically, stage hypnosis is more entertainment. And then the consultant hypnotist is more for helping people through difficult times or addictions, trauma. Some hypnosis work with PTSD. That's not my specialty, but all sorts of reasons people come for the therapeutic value of hypnosis. There's so much out there that benefits you. Like stage hypnosis is not specifically for weight loss or insomnia, phobia.
It's more like demonstration and entertainment, isn't it?
Correct, yeah.
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 But I guess it does demonstrate for sure how powerful hypnosis can be, because all of a sudden you do have some poor person who's standing on the stage clucking like a chicken, and in their normal day-to-day life they would never, ever consider doing that in front of people.
Now, Brenda, I will say that anybody who walks up on stage is already given their permission to have fun with hypnosis.
Right, for sure.
So
they're not doing it against their will.
Correct.
But I think a lot of them go on stage thinking there's no way this person is going to ever be able to hypnotize me. But then it happens.
When you let your guard down and you become really relaxed and you allow the hypnotist to do their work, then the unconscious mind likes the state with which the hypnotist helps that subject move into, because it's a very relaxing, very calming, very nice, balanced state for the person, the mind, the unconscious mind to be in. And when you realize how nice hypnosis feels, it's not sleep. You don't do anything that's is out of your belief or value system. Your unconscious mind always keeps you safe when you're in a trance state. If you've experienced driving from point A to point B and not remembering the details in between those 2 points, that basically is a hypnotic state. It's a light trance state. That being said, if anything out of the ordinary happened, it would pull you out of that state immediately and take care of your safety. Right? So hypnosis hypnosis cannot force you to do anything that you are uncomfortable with doing. And any good quality stage hypnotist will not ask anything from a person that's outside of maybe a belief system or a value system that they have. And when somebody doesn't want to be hypnotized and they sit on the stage, they won't be hypnotized. So yet, in order for you to be part of the show and part of the hypnosis show, by walking, the mere choice of walking up onto the stage is your permission for the hypnotist to help you move through the show with them.
Huh. So you have to be a willing participant, even if you, like, say it's a family member who says, it's time for you to quit smoking. I don't want you smoking in my house anymore. I don't like the way you smell, blah, 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 blah. And the person feels obligated to go to hypnosis. Will it work, or do they have to buy in and they have to really want to quit first?
That's a really good question, and I get asked that a lot, actually. And when it comes to smoking cessation in my practice, one of the first questions I ask is, did you come of your own choice, or somebody in your family asked you to come? And if they say somebody in their family asked them to come, I will ask them to come back when they're ready to quit. Because it doesn't work if you're not at the point where change happens.
And you want it to happen.
And you want it to happen, right? If you're coming for the sake of somebody else, you're not coming for yourself. And that's the key thing here. You really want to be able to make it work for you. You want to be able to make it work 100%. And in order to do that, you have to be committed to the process.
Okay. So I guess it is that thing that no one can make you do something against your will, and your will is your subconscious.
Correct.
Okay. So when someone comes to you then for weight loss can, or obesity, I guess, can have some pretty serious psychological undertones to the condition. It's not just that one day you get up and decide to eat yourself into oblivion. You actually... There's self-esteem issues involved, maybe stress issues. So how do you address those issues with the person? Are they under hypnosis when you address those issues?
Yes, they are. There's self-esteem is one of the modules that I use, that I work with. There's self-esteem, beliefs, cravings, and motivation to keep moving forward with the weight loss. So again, if you're not ready or at the point where you're ready to change, this won't work for you. But there's a lot of people that have tried so many options and they're unable to lose weight. But a lot of it has to do with the belief system, the underlying components of their beliefs and their self-esteem. If you believe that you can't lose weight, we need to readdress that to create a belief system that helps you believe in yourself that you can lose weight. If you can believe that you can lose weight, then the behavior follows. And the actions follow. And if you're, if it's a self-esteem issue, then we build up the belief in ourself or our self-esteem. And when you have the courage behind that, then change starts happening on an unconscious level. Cravings, it's all about changing the patterning of a behavior. When you change the pattern of a specific behavior, cravings are related to, late at night when you want to eat something and you've got this thought going through your head and all you can think about is something sweet or something savory or whatever it is you choose to eat, and you have a tough time with this behavior because it's moving you towards food. There's a process where you can cut the behavior off from the thought, meaning that the thought disengages the body behaviors to recondition or reprogram the body to do something else. And when that happens, you actually start changing the behavior. When the behavior's changed, it comes from a new belief system. Or let me rephrase that. When you reprogram the mind, you change the belief systems, and then the behavior changes automatically. And then motivation helps keep you in tune or tuned into the new process. And it's amazing how effective this is with weight loss in particular, because when people start thinking differently about foods or how they react towards foods or how they behave towards foods, their body changes instantly. So it's when you reprogram the unconscious mind through self-esteem, your belief systems, your cravings, your motivations, and your likes and dislikes about food, then you can change the external part of what that behavior is connected to. So the body starts instantly dropping the weight or melting the weight. And I don't particularly like to use the word lose because you can always find it again. But when you melt the weight off or drop the weight or let the weight go, it generally stays off. So there's a whole terminology involved with self-esteem and believing in yourself that you can do it, and believing that cravings are a trigger from an emotional cue. Mm-hmm. And when you change that emotional cue, then the cravings will also change. And then, of course, the motivation to keep you going.
Wow. Well, we're coming up on our first little break here. We're talking with Lorraine Thornhill. We're talking about hypnosis. And I'm your host, Bren Masson. This is Fresh Waves. When we get back, we'll continue our conversation. And I've got some inquiries. This is a fascinating subject. Stay tuned, everyone. We'll be right back. Hey, this is Fresh Waves. I'm your host, Bren Masson. Thanks for tuning in today. Remember that if you want to hear this broadcast again, you can go onto YouTube and check us out at Fresh Waves Radio. That's Fresh Waves Radio. Click subscribe, and then you can listen to all of our podcasts. Today, we're talking with Lorraine Thornhill, and we're talking about hypnosis. Lorraine, I'm going to ask you now a little bit about meditation. I know that you do meditation as well as hypnosis. So how do the two blend together, and what is the difference between the two?
I get asked that a lot. And there's both meditation and hypnosis create alpha waves in the brain, which is it's a relaxed state. It's a very alert state of unconsciousness. The unconscious mind, the brain waves are an alpha state. And in that state, the brain is receptive for change. It's also receptive to relaxation and being in balance. And it's that state. There's the beta, alpha, theta, and delta. And in the alpha state, it's that state just prior to a deep sleep. It's the waking state and just before you go to sleep. And the brain is very receptive to triggers. It's also receptive to suggestions at that state. And both meditation and hypnosis reach those states equally as well. However, the guidance from hypnosis gets you there. My experience, I've spent 6 months, last year I spent 6 months meditating with monks. And the state that I got into on both self-hypnosis and meditation, I go very deep. And the meditation for me takes me a little bit longer. And when I say longer, not much longer because I'm so used to doing both, but hypnosis is a way of getting guidance into that state. And it's a quicker way of somebody who has not meditated or done hypnosis. Hypnosis is an actual quicker way of getting to that alpha state or the somnambulistic state. And either or are extremely beneficial. They bring the unconscious mind into a balanced state, a peaceful state, and both work very similar with the exception of hypnosis, in my opinion, and again, this is just my opinion, acts on a specific thing guided by an individual. So both are very beneficial. Both help you lose weight. They both help with self-esteem, beliefs, behaviors, and any performance as a result of lowering the stress levels within the body. And when we lower the stress levels, our body responds very healthfully to that new state. And that's where we can start healing things. And both meditation and hypnosis are great for that.
So now, meditation is sounding a little bit like almost self-hypnosis.
I would describe it as that, absolutely. There's no, that's exactly how I would describe it as.
So, I've heard people say in the past, just fake it till you make it. Keep telling yourself over and over and over again how great you are, how great you are. And one day your brain actually starts believing what you're telling it.
Well, it goes back to when I first mentioned about you change your thoughts. Mm-hmm. And then your behavior changes. You change your thoughts, your belief changes, and then your behavior changes. It works in that way. So thoughts, beliefs, and behaviors. And when you start changing your thoughts, you start looking for things. The RAS kicks in and says, the reticular activated system kicks in and starts looking for things to justify what you're saying. And then when that happens, when you see those things that justify what you're saying, the belief kicks in. And when the belief kicks in, the behaviors change. And so that's the objective, both in meditation and hypnosis, is to change into a state with meditation. It's to get into a deep, relaxed, balanced state where the body can do its thing on a natural level. With, hypnosis, it could be pain relief. It could be something specific. Mm-hmm. Now, with meditation, you can do your affirmations, absolutely. But my preferential meditation is when I write down in a journal 1 or 2 sentences, the objective of the meditation today, and then just take my body into that state, my mind first, and then my body follows. And then I let that objective go. And because that was the last thing that I thought of prior to the meditative state, that is what was on my mind, but without thinking of it. Because the more you think of it, the more aggravated we get, right? And the more the more it introduces itself into our thoughts, It could be on a negative or a positive thing. For example, if you're afraid of flying, the more you think about your fear of flying, the more you're going to become afraid of flying. So the objective is to recognize that you're afraid of flying and then do something about it, as opposed to be more frightful about it or scared about it.
So the mindset maybe would be, don't say, I'm afraid of flying, say, I love to travel. Would that work?
Well, if you change the negative to the positive, you change your beliefs about that.
Right.
But the emotional quotient has to be involved in that too, right? So you close your eyes and you say, I love to travel, and then you visualize yourself having a beautiful experience on plane, or you visualize yourself landing at the other end of the other side of the trip.
Right.
And then, on the beach, and you made it safe there. So when you come back to this place, it didn't seem so bad. So the idea is not to enhance the fear, but to soften the fear and eventually dispel it.
Well, I have a fear of heights. So maybe one day I'll come to you and try and get over my fear of heights and spiders.
Yeah, well, spiders is a big fear, actually. A lot of people have fears of spiders.
I just don't like
now,
them.
I asked you, has a spider ever hurt you?
No, but scared me to death. And so I've had spiders kind of just drop out of nowhere and all of a sudden be on me. I was driving home on last week, and there was a spider on the inside of my windshield, and thank goodness I was talking to my son at the time, because I think I might have had a bad situation on my hands had he not been there to talk me out of it. Anyway, so when you're talking about hypnosis, I can see that it would be helpful in a sports situation, in that I've recently read some studies where they say that when you sit down to visualize whatever sport you're in, say it's hockey, and you need to work on the plays and whatever, you can actually run through your whole routine in your mind in real time. Like, you don't speed it up or anything, you just do it in real time. And then you're able to enact that when you get onto the ice, or if you're a skier, when you get onto the ski hill, or a golfer, like you were just mentioning. It seems like a really powerful thing to get into your head like that.
It is, because when we'll take equestrian and skiing, for example. I've worked with a lot of different sports: hockey, golf, equestrian, skiing, divers, gymnasts, and the most common element is they can't visualize themselves landing a perfect, either a perfect tumble or a perfect jump with a horse, or perfect downhill run, or perfect swing with a hockey stick, and likewise with the golf. So the idea, when we're trying to visualize something normally, if we have all these interruptions, it gets in the way of the visualization. So where hypnosis comes in, it takes you to that alpha state again, where the brain is more relaxed. And when you're in that state, you have a heightened sense of awareness in a very common environment. So the interruptions no longer apply, because you don't really concern yourself about the phone ringing or the dog barking or somebody talking around you. You know that they're there, but they don't interrupt you. And so if you can have the focus of that moment of, let's say, when a horse is getting ready to jump, a horse and rider, you can relax into the position on the horse. And because you have done it before, you can actually feel the horse movement. I can take people into a scenario where they can actually feel the movement of the horse and rider. And if they're out of sync, they will be able to feel that through hypnosis in that hypnosis session. If they're in sync, then we just wait and use the breath to pull them up to the jump, and both the horse and the rider jump together, giving confidence, which is a big thing in athletics, to the athlete. And in a case of the equestrian, it's if the athlete is confident, then the horse feels that, and so they're in sync together. Now, with downhill skiers, I trained a few. I used hypnosis on a few downhill skiers to help them visualize a win-in run, but they didn't really know what a win-in run was. So what I did is I took them into a visualization of the Olympic gold skier who this particular skier trained with. And through hypnosis, we were able to take her down the run, and she was able to discern where she was on the turns and the angles of the turns, because she had been doing it for thousands of repetitions at this point, and how her skis angled into the snow or the ice at that point, and where the start gate changed her start time. We realized that there was hesitation on the start gate. So I gave her some instructions to actually visualize the start gate not being there, but the body would still go through the start gate. And then she stepped into the boots of this world-class Olympian. And because she had trained so much with her, she was able to go down the ski hill in the boots of this other Olympian. And just by the difference of the two, how she went down and how this Olympian went down, she was able to figure out the difference of her method as opposed to a winning somebody else's method who was higher ranked than her. And over a 6-week period, this is not all we did within a 6-week period, but this was a portion of it. Over a 6-week period, she was able, in skiing terms, to cut down her time by 3/100ths of a second. And that's a massive amount of gain in a slalom skier.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And so, yeah, with visualization, you can actually reprogram the body to do that perfect swing, that perfect dive. And you can go on a repetitive pattern and just go through it over and over and over again. And that changes the muscular behavior of a particular movement.
It seems like this has potential for all kinds of different things in life.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so I've heard of people who have been hypnotized and they just don't go back 2 weeks to when they were practicing something, or, just to their childhood, but they actually go into past lives. And then I think there's a similarity between that and past life regression. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, on the spiritual level, there's a lot of people that believe in past lives and others that don't. And your belief is important here, right? Because not everybody, the people that I've regressed to, there's a couple of different ways. One is regress to fix, which takes a person back in time to before circumstance happened that changed their life, or back in time to before they started smoking, or before they started putting on weight, and so forth, which helps in the promotion of healthy habits from beyond that. So regression to fix helps when you want to go back to the beginning of a particular habit or behavior, and then take them back before that and let them experience that, and then bring that experience forward again. I do that with smoking cessation. The other one, regression, past life regression, or lives between lives regression. That takes a person, that works on a soul level, more spiritual, and that takes a person back inside the womb, or as the soul journeys through our life, our many lives. It takes the person back to many different scenarios, many different lives that they've had before. I've been taken back quite a few times. And as a result now, when I have deja vu, I try and discern whether it's an experience in this life or an experience in another life. And a couple of times it has registered in another life. When I was wide awake and I recognized who I was in a different lifetime in this lifetime. So it's really interesting to find out. And often what happens when you take people back to a past life or you regress them, if there's something going on in this life, for example, maybe an illness or fear or phobia, that is generally resolved, bringing them back to the present day.
So maybe I was bitten by a spider in a previous life.
This could be. You never know.
You never know. Now, have you ever had a patient who has discovered something in a past life that affects them in the life that they are living today?
Yes, actually. I had one person who was having trouble releasing weights. And when we did have a past life experience, she came to the point in one of her lives where this area in her life was stressful. And she started putting on weight. And then when she moved back into the present moment, there was an understanding. And that understanding allowed her to change her behavior because it no longer existed. That's the concern or the problem that she had in a past life, because she understood what it was no longer a threat anymore, and she was able to release it. And so she started dropping weight much easier.
Wow.
But that doesn't necessarily happen to everybody.
No.
That's just a caveat there, right? Everybody's different. Everybody accepts hypnosis in a different way. Everybody, with me, my personal journey is working through inflammatory bowel disease and using hypnosis to alleviate pain from that. But that's my personal journey, and it worked beautifully for that.
Now, what do you do when someone says to you, oh, this is absolute bunk, it's just hocus pocus?
What, hypnosis or past life?
Hypnosis.
I have no problem with that. I have absolutely no problem with that. I have people come into me. It doesn't bother me in the least, because not everybody believes in the same thing, and they have their right to an experience, or they have their right to a belief system. And who am I to say or to change their belief system without them asking me to help them? Right? It's not my place to do that. It's my place when somebody comes to me and wants to improve their performance in sports, or they want to change a certain belief about themselves, or they want to experience regression to fix, or they want to take away fear from spiders, for example. Those people I work with because they have come to me. But if somebody says to me, I don't believe in that, I am totally okay with that. It's their prerogative. They have the right to believe anything that they choose to be. So it doesn't bother me in the least.
So if somebody really doesn't want to be hypnotized, can you still prove to them that it's a thing by hypnotizing them?
I will not hypnotize a person that comes to me and says, I don't want to be hypnotized, but I will tell them instances, I will describe instances that they've already experienced hypnosis on a daily basis. And for example, what I mentioned earlier, driving from point A to point B in a car and not remembering all the details that you pass. And then all of a sudden you're at point B and you say, geez, where did that time go? Or another time when you're watching TV and somebody's calling your name and you don't hear them. You're in a trance, right? Because you're so focused on the TV that you've blocked other things out.
Right.
You know, there's all sorts of daily trances. It's a natural phenomenon. I mean, it's such a safe, natural thing to go through. But it's not sleep.
It's not sleep.
State.
It's not sleep. So when you meditate, you're not lying down necessarily.
No.
And when you're hypnotized, can you be sitting up or standing up?
All of my clients are sitting up. Yeah.
Now, do people physically react to the hypnosis? Like, do they get up and start running around the room or pull back in fright of something, in fear of something?
Yeah, there are reactions, but their safety, it doesn't happen very often. It's very, very rare. But when it does, all you tell the person to do is just go to your safe place, because there's always safe places set up in hypnosis. And it's an reaction is an emotional state, right? They're reliving something that that is a little frightening or emotional about them. But when you just tell the person to go into their safe place, then the reaction goes away, and it's like seconds. A person does not stay in that emotional state because it's easy to address that. But like I said, that happens on a very, very rare occasion. I've had people, years ago, I had a lady that experienced an emotional reaction to a visualization or a scene that she went back to, like a regression fix. And all I did was ask her to separate herself from the emotions and just be an observer. And then just by doing that, she was able to see from a distance what was happening. And as a direct result of that, her whole perception or concept of what she experienced changed, and it helped her dramatically improve the scenario that she came to me for.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you see on TV sometimes you'll see on a detective show or a police show where they say to somebody, now we're going to take you back to that room, and can you look around and tell me if you see someone or something that you might not have remembered? And in doing that sort of mini hypnosis, people have seen all kinds of things that their memory didn't bother recording, or it's there, but you just didn't access it.
Well, our conscious mind only takes in about 7 pieces of information, plus or minus 2 pieces at any one time. But our unconscious mind takes in millions of pieces of information. And so when you ask somebody on a conscious level, they're only going to remember what they remember, and that could be 5 to 7 pieces of information at that time. But if you take them back into a hypnotic state and do time regression or like a forensic type hypnosis, you have to be careful not to lead the subject into observation. Right.
Do you see that vase over there, as opposed to what do you see over there?
Correct. Yeah. And so when you ask the subject or the person the person who is in trance, they can remember where keys were because the unconscious mind took in the extra piece of information. They can remember what shoes a person was wearing, or if there was another person in the room, or they can remember details that the conscious just completely slipped the conscious mind, because conscious mind is our current awareness. It's our awakening. It just takes in all the surroundings, all the details, all the smells, the sights, the sounds, the feelings, the emotions associated with that, the tastes, and on a conscious level, you may only experience the taste and the emotion, along with maybe a portion of the color, or maybe a portion of the feel, like wind on your face, or the sun shining or raining. But how heavy did it rain? You know, how cold was the rain? How warm was the rain? How did you feel? Were you wet? Were you warm? Were you cold? Whatever the case may be. There's so many more details that's in there. And that's what forensic hypnosis is about, is trying to find out the details without leading the subject into an illusion.
Wow, it's a fascinating subject, and I wish we had more time, but we are coming to the end of Fresh Waves today. Thank you for joining us, Lorraine, and we hope to be able to talk to you again on Fresh Waves. It's absolutely wonderful to have you on board.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate chatting with you today. It was a lot of fun.
Well, how can people get a hold of you if they'd like to find out more?
My website is www.mindmasterytraining.com.
Mindmasterytraining.com.
Or LorraineThornhill.com.
Okay. Well, like I said, thanks again. It has been wonderful. You've been listening to Fresh Waves. I'm your host, Bren Masson. Today we were talking with Lorraine Thornhill. If you'd like to hear this broadcast again, you can definitely go to our YouTube channel and subscribe to Fresh Waves Radio. Fresh Waves is all one word. And hey, you can always listen to Fresh Waves on Sunday mornings at 7 a.m. on Whistle FM 102.9.